A simple woman named Smita lives in a quiet village. She stays in a modest house built on land inherited from her father. Gardening is her passion, so her yard is filled with plants that she carefully tends every day. Living next door is Molly, a close friend of her late father. Before passing away, her father asked Molly to look after Smita. And since Molly also enjoys gardening, the two often spend time caring for the plants together. Smita is married to a man named Pankaj, a relationship that began mostly because of his good looks. In daily life, Pankaj has a habit of wasting money on gambling. One day after he leaves the house, Smita continues her routine by cooking in the kitchen. Not long after, she receives a phone call from her aunt, who shares that her daughter Shalu has just found a job in Smita's village. Her aunt asks if Shalu can stay with Smita temporarily until she finds her own place. Smita gladly agrees, and after the call ends, she immediately prepares a room for her. Elsewhere, a police officer named Ratan is seen waiting in line just to collect water for his bath. After finally getting some, he heads home, determined to earn more money so he can afford an apartment and avoid this daily struggle. Soon after, he goes to work and visits a bar owned by a wealthy businessman named Gajendra. Ratan demands a higher security payment than usual, and although Gajendra is clearly displeased, he hands over the money without much resistance. At the same time, Pankaj is not at work as expected. Instead, he is at Gajendra's bar, gambling. After losing, he is forced to pay, but he has no money left, which only adds to his growing debt. As the debt piles up, Gajendra calls him in and pressures him to settle it soon. Pankaj promises he will pay everything back and reveals his plan to convince Smita to sell their house. Hearing this, Gajendra becomes interested and asks Pankaj to sell Smita's house directly to him. If the deal goes through, he plans to resell it to a development project for profit. Pankaj eagerly agrees, as long as he can get Smita's approval. When Pankaj returns home, he immediately pressures Smita to sell the house and move somewhere smaller. But Smita refuses because the house holds precious memories of her father. The argument becomes heated, and Pankaj's emotions trigger his asthma. He quickly searches for his inhaler. Despite his harsh behavior, Smita still cares deeply for him. She gently comforts him, showing that her love remains, even in the middle of conflict. Early in the morning, Smita wakes Pankaj and asks him to pick up Shalu from the station. Pankaj heads out and soon meets Shalu after a long time apart. He is a little surprised to see how much more beautiful she has become. They return home together, where Shalu warmly embraces Smita. The three of them share a meal and spend some time chatting. On her first day of work, Shalu heads out with excitement. Later, when she tries to return home, she struggles to find transportation. By chance, Ratan notices her and is instantly drawn to her beauty. They introduce themselves, exchange phone numbers, and Ratan offers to take her home. That evening, Shalu spends time with Smita, helping her pick tomatoes in the garden. The next day, Shalu goes to work with Pankaj. During the drive, they talk more and begin to grow closer. Over the following weeks, Pankaj continues to flirt with her, and Shalu responds to his attention. At the same time, she also spends a lot of time with Ratan, and the two of them eventually become a couple. One day, during a break from work, Shalu and Pankaj secretly check into a hotel to be together. Afterward, Pankaj buys her new clothes. While he is busy paying, Shalu takes a moment to call Ratan. Once everything is done, they both return home as if nothing happened. Not long after, Smita comes back from shopping. As she enters the house, she is shocked to find Pankaj being intimate with Shalu. The sight deeply hurts her. She retreats to the backyard, quietly processing everything. When Molly greets her, she does not respond, which makes him sense that something is wrong. And in that moment, everything begins to fall apart. This is Saali Mohabbat. A few days later, Smita prepares a cake for Pankaj's birthday and holds a small gathering at their home. Among the guests is Usa, Smita's older sister. She notices how close Pankaj and Shalu have become and tells Smita that she does not like what she sees. Usa warns her not to act foolishly, but Smita remains silent. She steps away to the backyard and cries alone. That night, Shalu tries to tempt Pankaj by sending him a provocative photo. Pankaj gets up, intending to go to her room, but Smita wakes up at the same time. He quickly returns to bed and lies beside his wife, pretending nothing happened. The next morning, Shalu gives Smita a new green outfit. Smita accepts it coldly without any warmth. Not long after, Pankaj tries to talk to her again, pushing her to sell the house to pay off his growing debts. But Smita refuses once more. Frustrated and angry, Pankaj storms out of the house. Right after that, Shalu steps in and suggests that Smita should obey her husband's wishes. This only makes Smita feel even more disgusted by both of them. That night, Pankaj meets Gajendra and admits that he has failed to convince Smita to sell the house. Gajendra tells him not to worry and promises that he will find a way to force Smita into agreeing. Unbeknownst to them, Molly, who works as a gardener at Gajendra's place, quietly overhears their entire conversation. The next morning, Smita and Molly spend time gardening together. Molly begins to hint that he understands what is happening in her household. He compares their situation to plants that have been well cared for, yet still get destroyed by pests, suggesting that sometimes those pests need to be eliminated. Smita listens carefully and reflects on his words. As usual, she prepares breakfast for Pankaj. After eating, Pankaj waits for Shalu in his car, while Smita hands Shalu some packed food. Shalu accepts it happily. Later that afternoon, Smita relaxes for a while. Soon after, Shalu returns home earlier than expected and rushes straight to the bathroom, complaining about stomach pain. It turns out she had been going back and forth to the restroom even at work. Smita prepares a herbal drink for her. Shalu tries to call Pankaj, but the call does not go through. After taking a bath and getting dressed in her green outfit, Smita leaves the house to attend her niece's birthday party at Usa's place. She joins the other guests and sits among them quietly. At the same event, Ratan is seen talking with his colleague and superior, Sunil. He shares about his relationship with Shalu and his plan to marry her. Suddenly, Sunil receives a call reporting that 2 bodies have been found in a house. Without wasting time, he and Ratan rush to the scene. When they arrive, Ratan is shocked to discover that the victims are Shalu and Pankaj. The police immediately begin their investigation, and the house appears to have been ransacked. Back at the gathering, Usa tries to calm Smita, who cannot stop crying. Later, Ratan questions Smita before leaving. Deeply shaken by Shalu's death, he becomes determined to find whoever is responsible. Ratan then visits Gajendra and learns about Pankaj's heavy debts. This leads him to suspect that Gajendra might be behind the murders. During the interrogation, Gajendra reveals that he and Pankaj had actually planned to kill Smita so they could take control of her house. However, on the night of the incident, his men mistakenly identified Shalu as Smita and killed her instead. After searching unsuccessfully for the house documents, they left the scene. After hearing Gajendra's story, Ratan is left confused about who actually killed Pankaj. Despite that, he continues his investigation. He visits an ongoing construction site and begins forming a new plan. Instead of focusing purely on justice, he decides he wants to get his hands on Smita's house documents first, so he can sell them to Gajendra and make a large profit. Meanwhile, people come to Smita's house to offer their condolences. At the police station, one of Ratan's subordinates shows him CCTV footage of Pankaj and Shalu checking into a hotel. This makes Ratan feel irritated, and he starts to see Shalu in a different light. Ratan then visits USA to confirm whether Smita was really with her on the night of the incident. USA shows him photos that prove Smita was at her house during the event. Still suspicious, Ratan later confronts Smita and asks if she knew about the affair between Pankaj and Shalu. Since she admits she was aware, Ratan begins to suspect that Smita may have acted out of revenge. That afternoon, while Smita is gardening, Molly reminds her to stay careful. Before leaving, he gives her a purple plant. The next day, Ratan reviews the autopsy results of Pankaj and Shalu. He learns that Shalu suffered from severe diarrhea before her death and that Pankaj had asthma. The time of death between the two is also different, confirming that Shalu died first. Ratan continues digging for answers. He visits Shalu's workplace and is told that she had been frequently going to the restroom that day due to stomach issues. He then tracks the last known location of Smita's phone through CyberL and finds that it was at her house during the time of the murder. This convinces him that Smita is responsible. Confident in his conclusion, Ratan tells Sunil that he has identified the killer, but chooses to keep the details to himself for now. Around the same time, a professor, who is a friend of Molly, visits Smita's house. He is impressed by the property and shows interest in buying it. After the visit, Molly escorts the professor away. Not long after, Ratan arrives at the house and confronts Smita directly. He accuses her of pretending and claims he knows she is the one who killed Pankaj. Based on his investigation, he explains how she allegedly carried out the plan. He believes that the night before the murder, Smita blocked Shalu's number on Pankaj's phone and blocked Pankaj's number on Shalu's phone, preventing them from contacting each other. According to Ratan's theory, the next morning Smita mixed a special plant into Shalu's food, causing her to suffer from diarrhea and return home early. Then Smita left for USA's house wearing a green outfit to create an alibi. During the event, she secretly returned home, killed Shalu, and later unblocked Pankaj's number on Shalu's phone. He continues, explaining that when Pankaj came home and saw Shalu dead, he panicked and his asthma was triggered.
Shalu.
As he struggled to reach his inhaler, Smita allegedly kicked it away, leading to his death. After that, she unblocked Shalu's number on Pankaj's phone, cleaned the blood from her clothes, changed into another green outfit, and returned to Yusa's house as if nothing had happened. Hearing all of this, Smita remains silent, clearly shaken. Ratan then tells her that the evidence he has is enough to send her to prison. He gives her a choice. If she wants to stay out of jail, she must hand over the ownership documents of her house to him. With that, Ratan leaves, while Smita is left standing there in silence. 2 days later, Smita takes care of the house documents at a notary office. From a distance, Ratan watches her with satisfaction. Once everything is done, Smita returns home and begins preparing to move out. The next morning, Ratan goes to meet Gajendra and tells him that he has already secured ownership of Smita's house. He makes it clear that if Gajendra wants the property, he will have to pay double the price. After that, Ratan visits Smita's house. She offers him a drink, but he refuses, worried that it might be poison. Without hesitation, Smita hands over the house documents that are now under Ratan's name, although he has no idea that the documents are actually fake. As Ratan carefully checks the papers, he reveals something important. He explains that the real person responsible for Shalu's death is Gajendra. He goes on to describe how Pankaj and Gajendra had made a deal to kill Smita in order to seize the house. Unfortunately, Gajendra's men targeted the wrong person, mistaking Shalu for Smita. Hearing this truth fills Smita with anger. Suddenly, Ratan finds that he can no longer move his body. It becomes clear that Smita has poisoned the documents themselves. Not long after, Molly arrives carrying half of the money from the sale of the house. The remaining amount has already been transferred to Smita's account. The property now belongs to the professor. Molly then burns the fake documents in Ratan's hands. With no way to resist, Ratan is forced into a sack. Molly takes him to the middle of a bridge and throws him, still alive, into the river below. Smita leaves the house with a heavy heart. The place holds so many memories of her father, but she is ready to start a new life in another city. As she is about to board a train, she notices Sunil stepping off from another carriage. During the journey, Smita meets a man named Vicky. Unexpectedly, just a few months later, the two of them are already married. One day, they are invited to a family dinner at a relative's house. At the gathering, Smita sees Daya, who turns out to be Sunil's wife and also Vicky's cousin. As the evening goes on, Smita notices Vicky getting closer to another cousin named Malini, and it clearly bothers her. Eventually, Smita gathers everyone in the living room. She begins telling a story about the deaths of Pankaj and Shalu using different names. Everyone listens closely, and this is where the truth behind everything slowly comes to light. So that night, Smita blocks Pankaj and Shalu's numbers on each other's phones, making sure they cannot contact one another. The next morning, she prepares food for Shalu and secretly mixes something into it, causing her to suffer from severe stomach pain. Later, Smita returns home, intending to catch them in the act. But instead, she is shocked to find Shalu already dead. She breaks down in tears because she never meant to kill her and has no idea who did it. Not long after, Pankaj comes home. Smita quickly hides. He is just as shocked to see Shalu's body. When he realizes Smita is still alive, he grabs a knife with the intention of killing her, but suddenly his asthma flares up. Seeing this, Smita is overwhelmed with anger after everything he has done. She takes the knife and stabs him in the chest, killing him. After finishing her story, Vicky begins to realize that Smita has been talking about herself all along. The truth unsettles him, and fear starts to set in. Soon after, the two of them excuse themselves and leave. At the same time, Sunil is walking into the house, but he stumbles and drops the fruit he is carrying. Because of that brief moment, he misses seeing Smita entirely. Eventually, Smita and Vicky arrive at their new home. Inside the bedroom, Vicky looks at her with fear, while Smita responds with a cold, unsettling gaze. Not long after, Molly visits and gives Smita another purple plant. The next day, Sunil goes to see Ratan, who is still alive but completely paralyzed. He cannot speak or move, confined to a wheelchair. Ratan tries to communicate by writing the letter S, hoping to reveal that Smita is the one who killed Pankaj, but Sunil does not understand what he is trying to say. And with that, the story comes to an end. So the moral of the story is never trust a gardener with purple plants. Never marry someone just for looks, and definitely don't mix cheating, gambling, and real estate because you might end up as fertilizer.